Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. And it's a great pleasure for us to be here today and accept greetings from the United Nations Environment Program, the representatives of the African Union Inter-African Bureau for Animal Resources, Global Alliance for Rabies Control, the representatives from the World Health Organization, the World Organization of Animal Health, FAO, respectable colleagues from across the entire world, all protocols observed. An insightful African proverb reminds us that when a snake bites your neighbor, you too are in danger. This proverb is a stark reminder that none is safe from the dangers of rabies. And just as neighbors join hands against a dangerous snake in a neighbor's compound, it is in our own best interest to join hands in the fight against rabies. This year's theme is Rabies, One Health, Zero Deaths. Distinguished colleagues, there is no greater motivation to join forces in combating rabies than knowing that while these disease dangers are fatal, they are surmountable. While rabies is estimated to be 99.9% fatal, it is 100% preventable. This means the battle against rabies is one we must win. It's one we must win so that at least we can keep people from infection, because an infection translates to almost certain death. Worldwide, a person dies every 9 minutes from this disease. In Africa, rabies kill an estimated 25,000 people annually, with about one death every 20 minutes. Children are the worst affected by the disease, with 4 out of 10 deaths occurring in children under the age of 15. A single death that is 100% avoidable is one too many. It represents lost talents, it represents lost creative genius, and lost dreams that would be the catalyst for accelerated socioeconomic transformation in the continent. This is a serious concern because the continent loses over $770 million worth of human productivity potential because of rabies. As we gather here today to slay this giant, I am confident that history will remember us for investing our time, for investing our energy, our intellectual and other resources for a worthy cause to make Africa and the globe a better place for many. The entry of environment is very, very crucial, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. The intersection of rabies and the environment is one we need to understand. While the entry of the environment is not direct, in the sense of being a reservoir for rabies viruses, environmental change breaks down the environmental buffer between rabies host animals, potential victims, be it humans or other animals. This blurring of boundaries enables transmission within the framework of One Health, under which we have converged here today. It is a great honor and pleasure to share potential ways the environment can actually be leveraged, because environment is a risk driver for rabies transmission, and how we can leverage it as a source of solutions to curtail this becomes very, very important. In our understanding these interactions, we can adequately harness the power of solutions from each element of the three-legged stool we call One Health: human, animals, and environmental action, and formulate enabling cross-cutting policies and incentives to catalyze rapid action. Accordingly, the first environmental aspect that we need to look at is climate change. With climate change causing long-term changes in weather patterns, some potential rabies host animals like bats shift to newer areas and spread these pathogens in new areas. In addition, Africa is socio-economically most affected by the changing climate as we speak today, and is projected to shrink economies by a massive 75% compared to the rest of the world, which will only be affected by 23%. These losses incrementally lowers the disposable incomes of most affected and limit their spending power and ability to vaccinate and treat their domestic pets that are rabies risk carriers. As a way out, the region not only needs to speak with one voice in the global push to lower emissions, but also act in its best interest by incentivizing climate actions from the lens of unlocking enterprise and income opportunities. A very effective way is ensuring that clean energy A leading investment area in the continent in lowering emissions is decentralized to power value-added actions in the agricultural sector, the most inclusive sector in the continent, and thereby unlock increased incomes. Stakeholders in the animal sector should work with colleagues in agriculture to push for prioritized clean energy power value-added actions in animal production supply chain, especially in feeds and animal processing. The second environmental aspect is biodiversity and ecosystems degradation, which eliminates the natural buffer between humans and animal habitats. The result is once again a blurring of natural boundaries between potential hosts and victims, causing cross-infections. For example, degraded forests would increase the chances of wild dogs, a host, straying into human settlements and potentially biting humans and domestic pets to infect them. As a solution, one of the ways this degradation can be addressed is by incentivizing investments in clean cooking, where currently an estimated 90% of wood consumption in the continent is attributing to the charcoal and fuel wood industry. Incentivizing solutions such as agricultural waste recovery to cooking fuels, be it briquettes or biogas, will go a long way in limiting the risk factors that drive the degradation of forests and natural habitat of vectors, and thereby limit the potential for cross-infections. Stakeholders in the animal sectors and health should complement efforts in incentivizing animal waste recovery to make domestic clean cooking energy a priority area through their own targeted sectoral policies. For example, policymakers in agriculture and health can join with environmentalism and energy actors for a cross-sectorial policy that calls for targeted incentives that support and also look for tax breaks to be able to address these. These realities and opportunities are out there, and this discussion today provides that opportunity where we can indirectly address the biodiversity loss risk drivers of rabies. Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, the responsibility for solutions is upon us. While the road ahead is not easy, it provides the opportunity to bring out the best from each of us, because after all, it is only crooked wood that shows the best sculptor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Richard from UNEP. Thanks for really highlighting what our continent really needs to start focusing on, particularly leveraging the strengths from UNEP and better understanding environmental health, as well as climate change on the continent, and how this can really help with interventions for controlling zoonotic diseases such as rabies. And you made mention of something that I think our member states, as well as representatives from the different countries today must focus on, is that for every life lost, it's really a lost dream for the continent. And for us to be able to attain this by 2030, we must think about this as lost dreams of the continent, and really start to invest and leverage on our strengths to eliminate rabies. Thank you very much, Dr. Richard.